Now the winter is too cold for people to come. Anyway, Om Vasudeva Sutam Deva Kamsa Chanuramandaram Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Hari Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Lord Krishna, the embodiment of bliss, who came to establish dharma and punish the wicked. Let us pray to him to lead us from unreal to real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. We have been studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, the yoga of meditation. The verse number 30 we are studying. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvancha pai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sajamena pranashyati. In this verse, Lord Krishna says, he who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, he does not become separated from me, nor do I become separated from him. That means these are the characteristics of a person of realization. A person who has realized the divine, he sees everything as divine only. He is always aware of his divinity and he is full of love and compassion for the whole universe. Wherever there is distress or suffering, the man of realization immediately goes there to help remove their sufferings. It is done because of their overwhelming love and compassion for the creation. In the last class I was speaking about the great saint who lived in the 18th century. His name Trailinga Swami, a realized soul. And because of his perfect realization of the divine, he had developed a number of powers. But he used these powers out of his compassion, out of his love. Not to display his powers, he was showing the powers, but to help the people. Once it so happened, a weeping widow dropped her dead child at the feet of the saint. Seeing her most pitiable condition, the saint was very much moved out of infinite compassion. So he just touched the corpse and revived it. One day, Trailokya, that is the Trailinga Swami, was sitting outside the Pashupatinath temple of Lord Shiva in Kathmandu, Nepal. It's a famous temple. It so happened one day, the king's daughter appeared there. She had prepared a special garden of flowers. She had prepared a special garland of flowers which is to worship Shiva. So she came to the Shiva temple. Her intention was to offer worship to Lord Shiva for her marriage. With great devotion, she performed the worship and put the garland which she had made on the Shivalingam. When she came out of the temple, she saw a naked sadhu wearing the same garland. And the king's daughter was surprised. And then she said to him, "You should marry me." That is, the Telinga Swami is telling the king's daughter, "You should marry me," showing that he was wearing her mala. She was abashed. She thought the crazy sadhu has stolen the flowers from my puja. Then the Swami said, "Go in and see for yourself." She went into the temple only to find the offered garland was still draped over the Shivlingam. Coming outside again, she saw that it was around the sadhu's neck. That means it was in two places at the same time, both on the Shivlingam and on the saint's neck. How could that be? Go, go. The saint said in benediction, "I accepted your offering of worship. You will find a very good husband." Returning to her home at the palace, she told her father of the extraordinary experience she had at the temple. Then the king said, "Just while you were praying in the temple, we received a proposal for your marriage from a most worthy prince." The princess was married and she led a most blessed life. At the Markandeya Ashrama in northern India, Telinga Swami did this sadhana along the banks of Narmada river. There he encountered a powerful saint of the region known as Kaki Baba. It went like this. All the river's water was milk, and the newly arrived Swami was drinking it. Kaki Baba understood the vision, meant that Telinga Swami had the power to drink the milk of the river, and that Mother Narmada provided this milk for Telinga Swami. Also wishing to partake of the prasad, Kaki Baba went to the river bank to drink, only to find the milk was just plain water. There was no more milk. The beloved Telinga Swami stayed there for 8 years, performing his sadhana. Then he used to sit outside during the worst storms, despite persistent pleas from his disciples. Continuously he would tell them, "Don't worry about me." One day he went out into the river to rescue a sinking boat single-handedly. Telinga Swami knew that everyone had the same potential to do anything, but sadhana enlivened that potential. He said, "Those who forget their own nature, their godly essence, forget the power within themselves. Our real nature most often is mistaken by others. They prefer to believe in a miracle of the supernatural rather than in the strength of the powers that all of us possess." For him, the boat rescue was merely another proof of the power of the God within. Trilinga Swami's next move was to Kashi in Benares, where he stayed for many years. From Kashi come many wonderful accounts of Trilinga Swami's compassionate and truthful character. One story is that a leper for whom Trilinga Swami sang hymns of praise and offered Bilvapatra, a leaf associated with the worship of Lord Shiva. After his worship of this man, Trilinga Swami requested him to shower at the Lorak Kund, always keeping the Bilvapatra on his head. Now the Lorak Kund is special for its auspicious waters, and when the leper washed as per the instructions of the Swami, his leprosy was completely gone. Another story took place in the Hanuman Ghat, that is in Benares. A local woman performed Shiva Puja there every day. One time, seeing a naked person there, she cursed his nudity and asked him why he didn't live in the jungle with the other animals. The man simply ignored her and continued peacefully on his path. That night, Shiva revealed in a dream that because of her insults to him earlier in the day, her worship would not bear any fruit. Furthermore, only that naked man, Trilinga Swami, would be the one who granted her the fruit for which she was worshipping. Her purpose for doing the puja was to find a cure for her husband's stomach ulcers. In the morning, she searched and searched for the saint, and when she finally found him, she asked for his forgiveness. Trilinga Swami happily blessed her and gave her some ashes for her husband's cure. Applying the ashes to her bewildered husband, she found that he was cured completely, immediately. That's how the saints always they act upon love and compassion. There's another story. There was an angry ticket collector who told the naked sadhu to get down from the train. He said, "You can't avail the train service without a ticket." The train was stopped between two stations, waiting for a clearance from the crossing guard when the Swami got down. So, he came off in an agitated mood in the direction of the next train. One crippled man called to him from the next compartment, "Babaji, take me with you." With seemingly great anger, Swamiji, Trilinga Swami, kicked the lame man and continued onwards the next station, a few miles from there. When the lame man got up from the ground, much to his amazement, he was able to walk. He threw down his crutch with a shout of triumph and ran after the Swami, shouting with joy at his recovery. The Swami reached the station and took his seat underneath a large tree. Meanwhile, the crossing guard gave the signal, but the train refused to move. People started to walk to the station rather than sit in the hot sun waiting for the train. When they reached the station, they saw the Swami comfortably reposed under a tree, and they all wondered how he knew the train would not be able to move and that everyone would have to walk to the station. The railway engineers worked on the train all afternoon, but they couldn't find out any difficulty. The mechanics came from the station, but they too were mystified by the train's failure. The train is not moving. Even the master mechanics and engineers arrived from the nearest city. All of them were bewildered with the train's inability to move. No one could even offer an explanation. Then at that point, the crippled man, who had been cured from the swift kick of Trilinga Swami, told everyone then the train won't run because of the insult shown to that great saint. After he was thrown off the train, the machine refused to run. Just go and ask the Swami to come again and board, and you will see if the train won't go. You will see if this train won't go or not. Well reasoned all the officials. We have tried everything else. No one has a better explanation. Let us go and call him to come. So no sooner did Telinga Swami board the train, the engine started up and the train moved off swiftly towards the station. Another incident. At a certain king's palace on the Ganges, a queen was bathing in the Ganges river. When she saw the naked Telinga Swami, she screamed in alarm. The king ordered the soldiers to capture the sadhu as he could punish him appropriately. When Telinga Swami was caught, the townspeople, knowing of his spiritual powers, warned the king. But the warnings went unheeded. The king's decision was that the whole town would curse the man repeatedly. That night, the king had a dream of Lord Shiva. Shiva complained to the king's abuse and demanded that he leave the Kashi and never return again. In the morning, an agitated, fearful king looked for the abused saint and begged for forgiveness, which the saint readily gave without condition. It was not usual for Telinga Swami to float atop the waters of the Ganges and then suddenly disappear, avoiding the overzealous crowds only to resurface at some other location downstream. Once the king of Ujjain visited Benares, and when leaving by boat he noticed a naked man floating on the top of the water. The man floated towards the boat and was brought on board. The naked man was none other than Telinga Swami. Telinga Swami asked her to see the king's sword, and after admiring it, Telinga Swami simply threw away in the Ganges with the levity of a small child. The king became very angry and decided to punish this crazy man. Then Telinga Swami jumped into waters and pulling out two identical swords from the water, asked the king, "Go, king, please show me which one is yours." The king stood there meekly unable to see any difference between two swords, to which Telinga Swami retorted, "Foolish king, you thought your sword was so important, but still you can't tell the difference between another one. You are a container full of delusion and ego. That sword is not yours forever. You can't take it with you, but your karma will go with you everywhere. Then why are you so angry about this sword? Why bother yourself with anger?" Telinga Swami gave the king his sword and threw the other one back into the water. The upset king asked forgiveness from Telinga Swami, and without a second's hesitation, Telinga Swami granted it, and then he again jumped into the river. Many stories are there revealing his miraculous spiritual powers. This only to show that how a man of realization always acts upon love and compassion. Once at one of the bathing ghats, Telinga Swami saw a woman weeping for her husband who had died of snake bite. As was the tradition for the death from snake bites, the funeral group attempted to throw the whole body into Ganges rather than to cremate it. Telinga Swami approached the body, applied some clay to the wound, and quickly jumped into the Ganges. The dead man slowly came to life at the top of the ghat. For weeks was strictly about Swamiji's miracles. Another incident. The British officers saw Telinga Swami's nudity as a social disgrace and frequently complained to the magistrate, who finally arrested him. The policeman who tried to bring him before the magistrate told a tale that seemed highly impossible. Trailing Swami simply disappeared before their very eyes. A huge search party was summoned to search for him. But while they were out looking, he returned alone. He was laughing hilariously. Someone informed the magistrate that Trailing Swami was not an ordinary human, and that in his spiritual greatness he saw everything as equal. Apprised of this information that the Swami regarded everything as equal, the clever magistrate asked if the Swami would eat his food. He knew fully well that meat was forbidden to a Hindu sect. The saint, without any hesitation, responded affirmatively and added that the magistrate should eat his food also. Agreeing to the exchange, the magistrate received a plate of food. The magistrate served a plate of meat to the Swami, who ate it. After eating his meat, Trailing Swami squatted and defecated into the palm of his hand the food for the magistrate. The magistrate began to swear and curse in offensive tones when he observed that the offering had totally become sandal paste. Convinced of Trailinga's spiritual power, the magistrate protected him from that time onwards, and his reported to have given him protection throughout the district. When the magistrate was transferred to another district, a new magistrate came who also reacted to Trailinga Swami's nakedness by arresting and jailing him. The following day, the magistrate visited the prisoner. Much to his surprise, the magistrate found the prisoner outside the jail. He could not find out who let this man out of the jail. Angered, the magistrate demanded that Trailinga Swami tell him how he had escaped. In a simple and effortless way, Trailinga Swami said, "Early in the morning, I had the desire to urinate." This infuriated the magistrate, and he locked Trailinga Swami up again, but this time even more securely. Trailinga Swami managed to follow the magistrate outside, even despite extra security attempts. Trailinga Swami told the magistrate, "Sir, you are quite guilty of ignorance. This world has infinite possibilities and all-pervasive consciousness, things about which you know nothing. You can't blind anyone who has reached the heights of yoga. Why do you disturb me if you can't do anything to me? Where is your power now?" Enlightened by the prisoner's words, the magistrate recognized the power and depth of this man and ordered that all the officials in the town respect Trailinga Swami wherever he goes and to leave him alone. Trailinga Swami spent the last of his life at Panchganga Ghat in Kashi, now called Benares. His caretaker was Mangal Bhatt. Trailinga Swami spent his last years in silence next to Kali and Shiva deities carved from stone with his own hands. He sat at his altar, writing Sanskrit slokas and giving advice to others. When saints visited him, he often spoke in his own version of sign language. Sri Ramakrishna visited this Trailinga Swami and said that although he had taken a body, Trailinga Swami was truly Lord Shiva and the embodiment of wisdom. Both of them were so happy to be with one another, and yet few words were exchanged. They communicated at the level of the heart. Sri Ramakrishna recognized all of the signs that indicated Trailinga Swami's saintliness. Trailinga Swami also was most respectful. One question that Sri Ramakrishna asked was whether God was one or many. Trailinga Swami answered in sign language In Samadhi, you will know that God is one. And when you have a taste for the world, God is many. One day, Sri Ramakrishna wished to feed Telinga Swami pudding and gave him 25 pounds of sweet rice boiled in milk. Telinga Swami ate the entire offering in one sitting. Rich visitors liked to decorate him with gold and gems. Attired like this, he would lose consciousness and thieves would remove the jewels. For him, it was as if someone was giving and someone was taking. An incident occurred in which a king had beckoned him with beautiful jewels and robbers took away everything. When the robbers were brought to Telinga Swami, he dismissed the whole incident saying, I am still the same with or without the jewels. Many saints met him in his lifetime. One day, he announced to his disciples that he would like to leave this world. Then before leaving, he advised his devotees to make a sandalwood coffin and to put his body within and then to throw it into Ganges. He entered it into meditative samadhi and consciously exited from the body on the 11th day of the full moon. Following his directions, they placed his body in the sandalwood coffin, circumambulated Kashi, and then lowered the coffin into the Ganges, beside which he had resided for so many years. The coffin sank to the bottom, but after some time floated to the surface. When the disciples opened the lid, they found that the box was filled with flowers and there was no sign of the body. That's the glorious end of this great saint Telinga Swami. That means that is the indication of the realization of the divinity. One who has realized the divine is full of love and compassion, full of forgiveness, and always ready to help people as many times as possible. Let us continue next Tuesday. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachaduravardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Let us offer our salutations to Lord Krishna, the embodiment of peace and bliss, who came to establish Dharma and punish the wicked. Let us pray to him to lead us from unreal to real, to lead us from darkness of ignorance to light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be to all.